Welcome to the Hindu Daily. Okay, let's dive straight into the first editorial. We're looking at Bihar, specifically the run-up to the 2025 election. It really highlights those three big forces in Indian politics since the 90s, doesn't it? Mandal, Mandir, and Market.
Absolutely. Caste, Hindutva, and developmentalism. And the sources suggest Manal, caste identity, is still perhaps the most central factor there.
So breaking down the strategies, the RJD, what's their play?
Well, it's their core base first, Yadavs and Muslims, that's standard. But crucially, they're adding this big promise of government jobs.
And that resonates because of the migration issue.
Exactly. So much outward migration for work, a promise of jobs at home. That's powerful. It speaks directly to that economic reality.
Okay, then you got Nitish Kumar and the JDU. They're using the Karpuri Thakur formula.
That's right, targeting the extremely backward classes, the EBCs, Mahata Dalits, and non-Yadav OBCs, trying to stitch together that broad coalition.
Kind of carving out a space separate from the main Yadav bloc.
Precisely. And they're leaning heavily on welfare schemes, especially these one-time cash transfers aimed at women voters. That seems key to their strategy.
And the BJP, what's their angle?
It's sort of a multi-pronged approach. Hold on to the forward castes, naturally. Then use Hindutva to consolidate Hindu votes across different caste lines.
And development.
A specific kind of development. Think roads, bridges, clean streets. Things highly visible, especially appealing to urban voters and the middle class. Not necessarily deep structural change.
Right. Which brings us to the core issue the editorial says is being missed or maybe ignored, this economic stalemate.
Yes. And it boils down to two fundamental problems, really. First, land ownership. It's still incredibly concentrated.
Mainly with forward caste elites.
Overwhelmingly so. And this economic base gives them enduring social and political power, regardless of who is formally in charge politically.
And the second problem?
A real lack of agro-processing industries. Bihar grows a lot, but it mostly exports raw produce. And tragically, it exports its people because the value-added jobs aren't being created within the state.
It's a striking paradox, isn't it? Decades of backward caste political assertion, going way back to the Triveni Sangh.
Back in the 1920s and 30s.
But the economic power hasn't really shifted.
Not fundamentally. The data is stark. Forward castes are about 15.5% of the population, but hold 31% of government jobs and land. Over 80% of the large holdings, over 20 acres.
80%. That figure really stands out.
It does. It shows that political power hasn't translated into economic democracy in that sense.
So why didn't leaders like Lalu Prasad or Nitish Kumar tackle this? Why avoid challenging those big landowners?
Well, the suggestion is they were unwilling to alienate powerful landowners within their own caste groups or coalition partners. It was easier, perhaps, to pursue a kind of progress.
Yeah, that didn't threaten anyone's existing wealth.
Exactly. Political empowerment, yes. But serious land redistribution that might fundamentally alter the economic balance, that didn't happen.
Okay, let's shift focus now. Geopolitics. The second editorial looks at the Gaza ceasefire deal. And it seems, well, quite precarious.
Extremely. The immediate sticking point is Hamas needing to return the bodies of 13 Israeli captives from October 7th. That's holding up the next phase.
And stability is fragile. We saw that major violation recently. Hamas killed an Israeli soldier.
And Israel's response led to over 100 deaths. It shows how quickly things can escalate. But what's really notable now is the level of U.S. pressure on Israel.
How direct is that pressure?
Unprecedentedly direct, according to the source. We're talking about 200 U.S. military personnel deployed inside Israel for monitoring, U.S. drones flying surveillance over Gaza.
That sounds like a significant lack of trust in the Israeli leadership.
It certainly signals that. Plus, you had those high-profile visits, Rubio, Kushner, Vance. The message seemed to be, Washington is calling the shots now.
Which must put Netanyahu in a very difficult position domestically.
Absolutely. He's trying to manage Israeli perceptions, reassuring people they aren't just a client state, while simultaneously having to comply with this U.S.-led 20-point Gaza plan.
A plan his hardline coalition partners probably despise.
They do, but they're cornered, because Trump explicitly threatened to cut U.S. support if Israel proceeds with West Bank annexation. That's a powerful lever.
So this creates the paradox the article mentions. Trump controls the militarily stronger Israel,
which is politically boxed in,
but has less leverage over the militarily weaker Hamas.
Exactly. Hamas seems ideologically freer, more resistant to the pressure. They're still acting assertively despite their relative military weakness.
So Trump's approach, transactional, muscular diplomacy, Might achieve a pause.
It might impose compliance on Israel, yes, force a temporary halt, but long-term stability usually requires more than just muscle. It needs restraint, regional buy-in.
Things perhaps not central to Trump's current strategy.
Potentially not. The risk is that this imposed solution, while stopping the fighting now, could breed resentment and undermine genuine, lasting peace down the line.
Okay, let's move from geopolitics to, well, the cosmos.
Yeah.
The science section tackles a huge challenge in physics, unifying gravity with quantum mechanics.
Right. General relativity describes gravity on the large scale, quantum mechanics the small scale, but making them work together mathematically, especially describing gravity itself in quantum terms, that's the big hurdle.
Gravity is the odd one out among the fundamental forces.
It is, and it's incredibly weak, which makes its quantum effects almost impossible to observe directly in everyday settings. So you need somewhere extreme.
Like a black hole.
Exactly. Black holes have been seen as the ultimate natural laboratory for this, and Stephen Hawking's work in the 70s was pivotal.
His prediction that black holes aren't completely black?
That's the one. He showed that quantum effects near the event horizon cause black holes to leak energy Hawking radiation. It proved gravity and quantum mechanics do interact.
But the radiation from typical large black holes is too faint to detect.
Far too faint and cold. Which brings us to this new idea. Black hole morsels.
Morsels. Tell me more.
These are hypothetical micro-black holes. The thinking is they could be remnants from really energetic cosmic events, like collisions or mergers in the early universe.
And their size is key.
Crucial. The hypothesis suggests they'd be maybe asteroid-sized. Now, a black hole's temperature is inversely related to its mass. Smaller mass means...
much hotter.
Exactly. Immensely hotter than the big cold black holes we usually think about.
And because they're so hot, they radiate much more intensely.
Yes, and they evaporate much faster through Hawking radiation. As they shrink and finally disappear, they should release a final powerful burst of high-energy particles.
A detectable signature.
That's the hope. A specific signature. A delayed burst of high-energy gamma rays appearing sometime after a gravitational wave event, like a black hole merger, is detected.
Delayed because the morsel takes time to form and evaporate.
Precisely. And crucially, this burst should be isotropic, radiating equally in all directions, not like a focused jet.
Why is isotropic important?
It helps distinguish it from standard astrophysical phenomena like gamma ray bursts, which are usually beamed. An isotropic burst points towards something more fundamental, like evaporation.
So detecting this would be direct evidence of quantum gravity at work, giving us access to energy scales we can't reach otherwise.
Exactly. Not even the Large Hadron Collider can probe these energies. These morsels, if they exist, act like tiny cosmic accelerators.
Are we actually looking for this?
The exciting thing is, yes, instruments like HISS, HWC, LASO, and the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope are already capable of detecting the kind of signals predicted. So it's speculative, but testable.
A potential window into the quantum nature of space-time itself.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. All right, let's shift back to Earth to the text and context section. First up, the BRICS group and their push to move away from the US dollar.
Yeah, this has been a long-term goal for them. Reducing dependence on the dollar-dominated financial system, it really started formally back in 2014.
At the Fortaleza Summit.
That's right. They set up the New Development Bank, the NDB, and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement, the CRA, basically their own versions of the World Bank and IMF.
Seeking greater financial sovereignty.
Exactly. And avoiding exposure to U.S. sanctions pressure. That became even more relevant with Iran joining the group in 2024.
So what steps have they taken since 2014 towards using local currencies more?
There was a push in 2017 for more currency cooperation, things like currency swaps, encouraging direct investment in local currencies. And the recent Kazan summit focused on strengthening correspondent banking networks between members.
All aimed at bypassing the traditional dollar routes.
Precisely. Which leads to the main project now, BRICS Pay.
Okay, BRICS Pay. What is it exactly?
It's their concrete plan for a cross-border payment system. The explicit goal is to challenge the dollar's dominance by creating an alternative to the SWIFT network.
SWIFT being the network largely controlled by G10 central banks.
Correct. And this move isn't just technical, it's highly political. Remember the symbolic unveiling of a BRICS banknote at the Kazan summit?
I do. And the reaction it got.
A very aggressive reaction from then-President-elect Trump. He threatened 100% tariffs if they pursued this BRICS currency idea.
100%. That's a serious threat. Shows how high the stakes are perceived in Washington.
Definitely. Now, technically, BRICS is in a decent position to build this. Member countries already have their own advanced payment systems.
Like Russia's SPFS, China's CIPS.
India's UPI, Brazil's PIX. These are sophisticated systems.
UPI and PIX being those instant payment systems many listeners might be familiar with.
Uh-huh.
CIPS is China's SWIFT alternative.
Yes. The big challenge isn't the lack of systems, it's making them work together. Interoperability.
Because each country is also trying to promote its own system globally.
Right. India is pushing UPI internationally. It's accepted in 9 countries now. China is expanding CIPS, which is in over 120 countries. But notably, India isn't fully integrated into it yet, so there are competing national interests.
Which could slow down the unified BRICS pay system.
It could. But here's the potential twist. Trump's aggressive stance, those tariff threats, that external pressure might actually force the BRICS members to cooperate more closely.
So the threat itself could accelerate the very thing it's trying to prevent.
It's possible. It turns it from just an economic project into a geopolitical necessity for them. Sometimes external pressure is the catalyst needed to overcome internal differences.
Interesting dynamic. Okay, final piece from Text and Context. Pakistan and the Tehrik-e-Labbaik Pakistan, the TLP.
Yes, this far-right Islamist party, they've just been banned or proscribed for the second time in only 5 years. That happened on October 23rd.
Tell us about their origins, founded in 2017.
By Kadim Hussein Rizvi. Their support base is primarily the Sunni Barelvi community, especially strong in Punjab.
And their initial rise was linked to that blasphemy case involving Mumtaz Qadri.
Very much so. Qadri assassinated a governor over alleged blasphemy law reforms. The TLP mobilized huge support around his conviction and execution, focusing intensely on that single, highly emotive issue.
So they didn't build power through traditional political means.
Not entirely. Their appeal is deeply populist, centered on these emotionally charged religious issues, particularly blasphemy. They were incredibly effective at using mass networks and social media.
And financial backing.
Significant backing from Barelvi businessmen helped fuel their grassroots organization. It translated into real electoral clout, too. They got 2.2 million votes in the 2018 election.
But their influence goes beyond votes, right? It's about street power.
Absolutely. That's arguably their greatest strength, their ability to mobilize massive, disruptive protests that can bring cities to a standstill. Think of the protests against Asia Bibi's acquittal, or the ones against France in 2020.
They can effectively paralyze parts of the country and force a state to negotiate.
Yes. Even powerful state institutions have often ended up conceding ground to them during these protests.
So how has the government tried to handle them? The source says it's been ineffective.
Deeply ineffective, characterized by swings between two extremes. On one hand, coercion bans, arrests. On the other, compromise making concessions to end protests.
And neither works long-term.
Apparently not. Coercion can sometimes lead to more violence or just doesn't stick. Compromise is often seen as weakness, which can embolden the TLP further.
So banning them now, it contains the immediate problem.
It offers immediate containment, yes. But the risk is alienating their large voter base and support network. Driving the movement underground could also make it harder to monitor and manage.
It doesn't address the underlying appeal.
Exactly. The source suggests a more calibrated, consistent, law-based approach is needed, something beyond just reactive bans or concessions. Addressing the root causes of their popularity is the real challenge.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. Quite a range of topics. We've seen politics seemingly decoupled from economics in Bihar, military power not translating to political control in Gaza, potential cosmic clues to fundamental physics, and nations trying to build alternative financial systems while grappling with internal political challenges like in Pakistan.
It does paint a picture of increasing complexity, doesn't it? Where traditional levers of power, whether economic, military, or state authority, don't seem to guarantee the control or stability they once did. Which leads to a final thought, perhaps, for you, the listener. If these established power structures are proving less effective, if instability seems more prevalent, what kind of fundamental shifts in how the world is governed should we maybe start anticipating? What comes next?
Something to certainly ponder. Thank you for listening. If you want to provide suggestions, please contact on the Twitter handle given in the episode description. As always, we are eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about. We wish you a great day.